Greetings Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
It was huge. The Elon Musk interview with Donald Trump. Huge. I don't do a very good Donald Trump impression, except the dancing. I can do the dance, and a lot of people are doing the Donald Trump shuffle. After last night's performance on X, which started out as a dumpster fire because of all the technical problems. Some people saying that Elon Musk was lying about the DDoS attack. But that's what he said the problem was. I don't know. Other people are saying Trump broke the internet, broke the servers over at X because there were so many people watching. It was huge. And the left is having a meltdown over it. The UAW, the United Auto Workers, they're declaring legal war on Trump. They're going to sue him because that's what they do over there on the left, the far left, the extreme left. They use lawfare. They like to shut people up, shut them down. They love censorship. And that's why they can't stand Donald Trump, because he's saying what he wants to say. They don't agree with it. And Elon Musk, they hate him too, because he gave him a huge platform to spread his message last night. And it resonated with a whole lot of people. Millions of people. Millions. Tens of millions. Not thousands. Gamillions. Gabillions, maybe. It's hard to say how many people will end up watching or listening to last night's stream, but everybody has an opinion. If you're on the MAGA team, you know, you're probably a pretty happy camper tonight. If you're on the other side of the political spectrum, you probably lost your mind. But I think the left lost its collective mind quite a long time ago. They are nutso, and they are losing it tonight. But you will have a chance to share your views on last night's Twitter space with Elon Musk and Donald Trump right here on the Maverick News Channel. Yes, you can. You can call in tonight at any time during the broadcast. I will put the number up on the screen here for you, and you can express your opinion, exercise your right to free speech, and drive the censorship-friendly crazy people even crazier. You can call 1-519-401-1373. And all you have to do is just participate in the process, engage in free speech, exercise your right to free expression, share your opinion, and drive your political opponents nuts. You can do it right here. That's what we're here for. And I'll tell you right now, we're not broadcasting on Facebook. We're not broadcasting on YouTube tonight, because they're censorship platforms and they don't seem to like us very much. So be it. We're liberated from the clutches of the censors at Google and Meta. Don't care. We're building a bigger, better audience on other platforms. Oh, I think we'll be back on YouTube at some point, but man, they are doing their best to shut me up. I don't even get it. I think I'm pretty moderate. Obviously, Google is not. Meta is not. I'm realizing that those two platforms are very fascistic. authoritarian collectivists. So far left that they've reached around to touch the right. They've converged into communo-fascists, authoritarian censors. You want to get canceled? Just get set up on Facebook or YouTube, and sooner or later, they're going to come and cancel you. They're using artificial intelligence to do that. They are just scanning accounts, looking for keywords, and then they are letting their AI systems act as judge, jury, and executioner. And if you appeal, it doesn't matter. For the most part, they will just deny you any kind of real appeal. And they will just shut you down. And that's where we're at. But I don't care, because we're building a larger and larger audience on Rumble. And that's where we need you to go tonight, folks. If you're watching this broadcast, please subscribe over on Rumble. We're also over on Twitch, and we're on X, Twitter. Not getting as much traction on Twitter as I would like, but that's because I'm not as active about posting over there, and I'm not as proficient in the Twitter or now X style of posting material. But you know who is very proficient at posting things or creating things and expressing herself? Sandy, who sent me this. Thank you, Sandy. I just got this in the mail today. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sir Rick Walker, News Media. Peace. Hope. Peace, Mavericks. Love you, Sandy. Thank you. You guys are awesome. And we are building, I think, the best online community, period, anywhere, right here on the Maverick News Channel. And tonight, we're all going to dig into the top stories of the day. We have Ukraine making notable gains into Russia. They are moving into Russian territory. And I'll give you the information that I have, and you can assess for yourselves. We'll bring you up to date on what's going on with that nuclear power plant in the Ukrainian region, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant under the control of the Russians. We saw thick black smoke billowing from that 2 nights ago, and I told you it wasn't bombed. And I told you the propagandists were lying when they said Ukraine had bombed that place. We still don't know exactly what's happened, but it wasn't bombed. I told you. I was right. I was right. And I'll tell you why I was right, even though some people are saying, oh, but no, you weren't right. No, I was right. I was 100% right. Doesn't mean I know everything that happened, but I was right about that. The place was not bombed. Didn't happen. Lie. Big, giant, big, fat lie from a liar with his pants on fire. In fact, it wasn't just one. It was multiple liars with their pants all on fire. And there was a big fire there, and we'll show you what that's all about. What else we got going on? We've got Israel on high alert still. A lot of threatening words, threatening rhetoric coming from Iran. So far, all talk, no action. And what else do we have going on? I don't know. A whole bunch of crap. It's just, I can't remember it all. There's so much. But all of it's kind of related to the wars, and it all kind of dovetails from one thing into another. I guess that's really why I can't sit here and say, oh, no, they got this story and that story. It's a bunch of stories about the stories. Huge stories. So, yeah, what else can I tell you? Okay, before we'll just, you know what? Well, let's just flow right into it, shall we? Well, let's take this little break, and when we come back, we'll start digging into today's top news stories, and you can call in at any time and share your opinion on what happened with the Elon Musk interview of Donald Trump on X last night. I will be right back. Do not go away.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publish these things that simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so again, you can call in at 1-519-401-1373 at any time during the course of the broadcast tonight. And you can share your views with us here on the Maverick News channel. Let's start with the, do I have video of that nuclear power plant? I believe we do somewhere. Well, first of all, let's start with this, because in the Middle East, Israel's still on high alert. And I shouldn't say nothing has been happening. That's not true. What is true is there has been a lot happening with Hezbollah launching rockets over the last few days. A lot of rockets. How many? I don't really know. Just a lot. Into Israel, the Iron Dome holding up, but not entirely. I know that one key Iron Dome battery was destroyed, which has to be of great concern to people living in Israel, because that's the only thing preventing them from being blown to bits by all of these rockets. Can you imagine living there and being, just looking up into the sky and seeing all these rockets being shot out of the sky, rockets that are really targeted at you, and if they aren't shot down, you're probably gonna, suffer pretty serious losses, either you or your neighbors or somebody in your community. Under that kind of constant threat, it's like something out of a dystopian science fiction movie. But we're living it now, or at least they are over in Israel, and on the other side, equally horrific. Maybe more horrific right now. If you're living in Gaza, what a terrible place to have to try to survive. War, but we are seeing that all this rhetoric coming from Iran so far has been rhetoric, not backed up with actual actions. Nevertheless, as I just said, Israel remains on high alert, and the Pentagon, the United States, sending more firepower to the Middle East as a result of all this. Obviously taking it very seriously. I know that there was a statement from the U.S. government just even yesterday saying they do expect some sort of major response from Iran within the week, whatever that means. But we've been hearing exactly that kind of thing now ever since. Well, how many days has it been? I can't even count them all. I can't count all of them, but we're looking for it. Here's the Pentagon news briefing. Let's go to it now.
Concerns and aligns with Secretary Austin's priority to take care of our people. With that, I'd be happy to take your questions. We'll start with Associated Press, Lita.
Thank you, Pat. Can you give us a quick update on the injuries in Syria?
Oh, yeah, there was
There weren't a lot of details initially.
an attack on a
So
U.S.
hoping you
base
had
in
a
Syria
little more
3 days
detail on
ago.
Numbers and extent of the injuries, and then I have
Media
a
not
little
even
bit
really hardly reporting on it. Very little
on your
talk about it.
Middle East update.
But there's an election on.
As you know, as we highlighted earlier, there were ongoing medical evaluations after that attack. Following the attack, out of an abundance of caution, 8 service members were transported to a separate location for further assessment and evaluation. All 8 received treatment for TBI and smoke inhalation. 3 of those service members have returned to duty while the others remain under observation. But according to CENTCOM, none of the injuries are life-threatening.
Okay, good. And then just on your Middle East update, can you tell us if the F-A-18s have returned to the carrier now that the F-22s are in place? And does the Secretary intend to keep 2 carriers? I know this has been asked. I didn't know if maybe you had a more firm answer on that. Keep 2 carriers in the region for any extended period of time.
Yeah, I don't have any specific updates that I'm able to share right now, Lita, in terms of the locations of the F-18s. As you know, they are in theater, obviously, as part of the Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group. Certainly we'll keep you updated on that. In terms of the Abe coming into the AOR, I'm just not going to be able to get into timelines in terms of potential overlap. Again, as we've highlighted, the Secretary has ordered that carrier to accelerate to get to the CENTCOM AOR, and it will add to the capabilities that we have in the region.
Right. I think there's just a little bit of confusion on the word accelerate also. I mean, it goes at a certain speed. Is he cutting out a port call, or is he asking it to somehow go faster?
It's going to move, with all haste to get to the AOR, again, to provide this additional capability and capacity. Okay. Lucas, welcome to the briefing room.
Thank you, General Ryder. Appreciate that. Under what circumstances would U.S. forces launch an attack on Iran?
So, look, our focus is on de-escalating the situation. We have put these additional capabilities into the region to enable us, as I highlighted, to protect our forces, but also to support the defense of Israel should it be attacked. I'm not going to speculate or get into hypotheticals on when and if Iran launches an attack or one of their proxies launches an attack. Their public comments have been very clear, so we need to take those seriously. But our focus is on de-escalating tensions, working on enabling that ceasefire and getting these hostages returned home.
But isn't it important at this critical time in history that you send a very clear signal to Iran that if they launch a major attack on Israel and or its proxies, U.S. military will attack Iran? Don't you need to send a clear signal about what Iran, if they do it, if they cross it, you will attack them?
I think we are sending an extremely clear signal, which is that we are going to support the defense of Israel as evidenced by the capabilities that, one, we already retain in the region, and 2, the additional capabilities that we're flowing into the CENTCOM and EUCOM AOR.
Real quick on Lincoln. The Secretary has ordered Lincoln to the Middle East twice now in over 10 days. The first time was 2 days after the Hamas leader was killed outside in Tehran. The second time was on Sunday, as you mentioned. Where was the sense of urgency for Lincoln to get to the Middle East? Lincoln was just doing an exercise with the Italian Navy on Friday. If it was so urgent for Lincoln to get to the Middle East, why did you need the second set of orders?
Well, Lucas, as a former naval officer yourself, you understand the complexities and intricacies associated with managements of large fleets around the world. And the bottom line is, again, as evidenced by the capabilities that we are surging into the region, we will have a variety of capacity and capability to respond to various contingencies. Again, the focus is on de-escalating the situation, protecting our forces, and supporting the defense of Israel. And we'll continue. And this is not a Lucas Tomlinson press conference, so I'm going to go over to Idris.
If you do this, launch this major attack, the U.S. military will strike back. Why can't you just clearly say that?
I think we've been very clear that we're going to support the defense of Israel, and I'm not going to speculate about potential future attacks by Iran. Idris.
Just a request first. I think Task and Purpose had an interview with General Vowell OIR commander, if it would be possible to get him in the briefing room, or maybe General Kurilla to sort of talk about the force posture adjustment. I think that'd be
We've
very
got to get
helpful.
the T-walls set up, though, first before we can do that. So, yeah.
Just on the Lincoln, though, was there written order given to the crew of the Lincoln regarding the latest ordering or accelerating?
Look, I'm not going to get into the specifics of how the Department of Defense transmit orders to its units. The bottom line is the Secretary has ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group to accelerate its deployment to the CENTCOM AOR, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
I think what we're confused about is what does that mean? Because if you give an order saying going somewhere, presumably they're going as fast as they can. And what it sounds like is maybe this was more public messaging than an actual legitimate military order.
It's a legitimate military order, and it's accelerating on its mission to get to the CENTCOM AOR. And again, I'm not going to get into the in-between of when the initial order was given and what they may or may not have been doing in between then, other than to say, again, I think you need to take a step back and look at what we're attempting to do here, which is to de-escalate tensions in the region, ensure that our commanders that are in the region have the capabilities and capacity to respond to a variety of threats.
Actually say it is now going to arrive in CENTCOM earlier than it was previously.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the deployment timelines.
It's like the confusion it's causing, right?
It's not confusing to me. It's accelerating. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, General. Would it be a fair assessment to say that Israel cannot defend itself on its own, and that's why they need the U.S. military support in the region against Iran and its proxies?
Well, the U.S. and Israel have shared a long-standing security relationship, and we've been very clear, even before October 7, on the U.S. support for Israel, supporting its qualitative military edge. But also post-October 7 have been very, very clear in terms of our ironclad support for the defense of Israel. And so, as you saw on April 13, when Iran conducted its unprecedented attack, the United States, true to its word, supported the defense of Israel.
Just one more. So is this a just-in-case situation, or is this military support indispensable? Because you've got the F-35s, F-22s, F-18s, 16s, 15s, the warships, the air defense systems, the troops, everything, like, the whole 9 yards. Is this just in case or indispensable?
Well, again, I'd go back to what I said at the top. And I think it's important not to look at the individual parts, but look at what it is that we're trying to do here, which is deter a wider regional conflict, prevent a regional war in a very tense Middle East, with Iran threatening to retaliate and to use potentially overwhelming force. And we, again, have been very clear in our commitment to aid in the defense of Israel. No one wants to see escalation. No one wants to see a wider regional conflict. So, hopefully we don't find ourselves in a situation of having to employ those capabilities. But if we need to in the defense of Israel, we will. And so just leave it there. Charlie.
Yes, whatever term we want to use in terms of accelerating, it's still going to take a while, 7 to 10 days. I know you want to talk about timelines, but perhaps more urgently, and something that's already in the neighborhood, is the submarine. The fact that it was announced, what does it bring to this fight?
It's a nuclear-powered guided missile submarine. Provides, again, additional capabilities to the commanders, the U.S. commanders in the region, in terms of not only supporting the defense of Israel, but also protecting our forces. And again, the message here is deterring potential aggression. It's not unprecedented that we will highlight the movement of submarines. But again, it's important to look at this in the context of the broader U.S. military force posture in the region, which is to help protect our forces, support the defense of Israel, and again, deter aggression and aim to de-escalate the situation.
Capable of carrying as many as 175 Tomahawk cruise missiles?
Look, the United States military is the most powerful in the world. We have these capabilities. And again, I'm not going to belabor the point, but the goal here is to de-escalate the situation and ensure that we can support the defense of Israel should we need to do that. Jenny.
Thank you, General. Two questions. On the establishment of the strategic command, Does the Pentagon support the completion of the establishment of the South Korean military strategic command? And I have another. And can we expect the establishment of the U.S. ROK, integrated strategic command?
Well, certainly that's a decision for the Republic of Korea to make, to determine whether or not they stand up a strategic command. As it relates to that new organization, as I understand it, it will primarily interact with U.S. Forces Korea, which is how the U.S. military interacts with the Republic of Korea. But as you know, we are close allies, and we will continue to work together very closely when it comes to the defense of the peninsula and broader regional security and stability throughout the Indo-Pacific.
One more. North Korea attended Russia's advanced weapons exhibition, and Iran and China also are participating in this exhibition. What are your concerns about the expansion of arms cooperation between North Korea and Russia, and the cooperation between Iran and China with Russia?
Well, I'm not going to comment on the weapons expo per se, but we, again, closely monitor these relationships and do have concerns, particularly as it relates to Russia, as it seeks to procure arms and munitions from these countries to support its war against Ukraine. So it's something that we're going to continue to keep a close eye on. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, General. Two questions on Syria. There were reports about a drone attack on the Iranian-backed groups in Syria, which a war monitor reported that 5 members of this pro-Iranian militia killed in Deir al-Zur this Sunday. Were the U.S. engaged in this?
I don't have anything on that.
On the same issue, I'm sure you're following the conflicts between Syrian Democratic Forces and the Iranian-backed groups in Syria. So what's the Pentagon position on this? What's your comment on that? And does the U.S. gives any support to the Syrian Democratic Forces in their fight against the Iranian-backed groups in Syria?
Look, the U.S. Forces that are in Syria, and our focus in Syria is on the enduring defeat of ISIS, and that will continue to remain our focus. As you know, the SDF have been good partners in that fight, essential partners in that fight. And that continues to be the basis for our relationship and our cooperation with the SDF.
Their fight with the Iranian-backed groups in Syria, they derailed their focus on the ISIS mission. So do you concern when the Syrian regime forces and also the Iranian-backed forces are fighting with your partners, this will affect your mission in Syria?
Well, look, Syria, given the fact that much of it is essentially considered ungoverned space, for many years now, which is what has enabled groups like ISIS to foment, continues to be a challenge. But the U.S. presence in Syria and our focus in Syria is on the enduring defeat of ISIS, and so that will continue to remain our focus. Let me go back to Joe.
Thank you, General Reiser. When you say we're moving assets to the region to defend Israel, could you explain to us that using the term defend Israel, does it mean like the mission or the U.S. role in the region would be intercepting the incoming missiles or maybe taking offensive actions? Could you emphasize on that?
Yeah, look, it hasn't changed since Hamas's attack on October 7th in terms of the role that the United States has played in supporting the defense of Israel. The United States is not looking to engage in offensive operations and again, potentially spark a wider regional conflict. Our focus is on de-escalating tensions, and that's been a focus ever since Hamas brutally killed 1,200 Israeli citizens and took over 250 hostages. And so we will continue to stay very focused on that. But as what you saw on April 13th, when Iran conducted its missile and drone attack against Israel, demonstrated the types of activities that Iran is considering. And we've been very clear that our support for the defense of Israel will be ironclad. And so we need to be prepared to respond to a variety of contingencies. which requires a variety of capabilities. And because the United States military possesses those types of capabilities, and more importantly, our service members are the best in the world, we will continue to stay focused on not only, again, protecting our forces, but supporting our commitment to help in the defense of Israel.
Quick follow-up. Does the Pentagon believe that the deterrence is working in the region?
So far, Joe, what I would tell you is that it's our assessment that the conflict between Israel and Hamas has been contained to Gaza. Certainly, that's not to say that there are not incredible tensions in the region, and that the situation right now in the Middle East is very serious, which is why we're taking it so seriously, which is why Secretary Austin has ordered additional capabilities into the region. Thank you. Joe.
Okay. So that's the situation mainly in the Middle East. In Ukraine, we are seeing a real, a totally different picture emerging, especially over the last 8 days, as Ukrainian forces have made their way into Russian territory. That has been a big surprise for a lot of people, especially people who have been, listening to the storyline or the narrative, the news that has been telling us Ukraine is on its back feet, pushed back, that, we keep hearing over and over again, it's all over, Russia's won. And I kept saying, I began to realize that the information we were being fed, not really accurate. And Ukraine, facing some challenges, Russia facing challenges as well. And now the truth of the matter is Ukraine is making substantial gains into the Kursk region. They now control a reported 74 settlements in that area of Russia, inside Russian territory. Putin is reportedly assessing all of this, and even Belarus now is reportedly looking at tapping into its arms store, its storage of weapons that it keeps on hand for its main military operations and potential threats, and looking at maybe pumping those into the theater in order to bolster Russian troops. Other information we have here is that Belgorod is under attack, and we're also getting this information. We have received this information about that fire at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, currently under Russian control, but we were told by, I would say, propagandists that that power plant had been bombed within minutes of the reports of the news emerging that there was black smoke billowing from that nuclear power plant a couple of days ago. It was very clear to me that there was a big propaganda campaign that came with that smoke. And we were told that Ukraine had bombed the nuclear power plant by some online influencers like Jackson Hinkle. And it was obviously just a straight up lie. 100,000% lie. The IAEA, the National Atomic Energy Agency, they have inspected things there. They haven't been given full access to everything because of safety concerns, but they do have inspectors in that area. And they have now been given some additional access to the site. And what they are telling us is that there is no evidence found. They found no evidence of any drone attack there. They found no remnants or no wreckage, debris from any drones. It's very clear that it was not bombed because the fire, according to the IAEA, did not start at the base of the tower, the cooling tower, that all that black smoke was billowing from. We're told that the fire appears to have started inside the cooling tower. There is evidence of plastics that have burned, plastic material that would account for all of the black smoke, which I said the other night, that black smoke, that is more in line with the Ukrainian storyline at that time, that they believed or accused Russia of setting tires on fire at the plant. However, the IAEA has also said they found no evidence of tires having been burned. So the Russian story of the plant being bombed, or at least the certain Russian propagandists, absolutely not true. The story of the tires, no evidence of tires burning, but yes, plastics. And the report from the IAEA, the most recent information, is that the fire started somewhere inside the cooling tower, about 10 feet up near some water nozzles. The cooling tower, of course, used to keep things cool, but the tower itself, during the time of the fire, was not actually being used. Russian officials who control that nuclear power plant are now saying that that cooling tower may need to be decommissioned and might need to be replaced because the damage is so severe. We'll have to see where all of that goes, but we really now see that we have had two narratives, neither one from either the Russians or the Ukrainians exactly accurate. The Ukrainian story from the beginning, more plausible, and you could, and I mean, the black smoke, reports of tires being set on fire, the plastics account for the black smoke. The bottom line is it wasn't bombed. It was not, according to the IAEA, there is no evidence that a drone struck the cooling tower to cause the fire, but there was a fire at the plant. Now, what was the cause of the fire is still inconclusive. We don't know. That's what I said the other night. I said that it's very clear that these assertions that the plant was bombed by Ukraine, that was clearly a lie based on the information coming out that night immediately. And it was very clear that we were being subjected to a propaganda campaign, a big lie fest, all designed to make it look like Ukraine had attacked this plant and had, of course, then put the possibility of a nuclear disaster right up at the front of this conflict. Not true. What we still have is a lot of unanswered questions. We don't know how this fire started. Was it set intentionally? Was it some sort of an electrical malfunction? We just don't know. So we still need to wait for more information. I said the other night, I don't know exactly what has happened there, but it's just clear to me that the story about the bombing was not true. And I said that for anybody attacking me saying that I didn't get it right, yes, I did. I said that the black smoke was more in line with the Ukrainian story of the burning tires. That accounts for the black smoke. So it seems that would be a more credible storyline, but I don't know, and we need more time to find out what the truth is. We need more facts. That's what the IAEA has been trying to do, but they have not been given by the Russians full access to the areas to complete their inspection. So it's a developing story. Hopefully we get more. There has been no radiation breach, so we are not dealing with a situation where it is a nuclear disaster at this point, but it is very clear that this is a place where you don't want any kind of attack from either side going down because it's the largest nuclear power plant in that part of the world. So a very dangerous situation. It's got to get dialed down, but it wasn't bombed. wasn't hit with a drone. At least there's no evidence. I shouldn't say it wasn't hit by a drone. There's no debris from a drone was found at the scene. Therefore, no evidence that it was struck by a drone. The evidence collected by the IAEA that the fire started inside the cooling tower about 10 feet up inside the cooling tower near some water nozzles. And a lot of plastic material was burned. That's where all that black smoke was coming from, according to the IAEA. And they are not done with their investigation. Look for more in the days ahead. But this is a story that will drop off the radar. It will filter its way out of the news cycle because no nuclear disaster. Fire's out. We're moving ahead. We're moving along. There will be related stories later, but you're not going to hear a lot more about this, I don't think, from media. I will try to keep tabs on it. And if there's more relevant or important or, significant information that comes out as a result of, additional investigative efforts, then I will share that with you in due course. That's what's going on there. And here's, once again, I'll show you a video of the nuclear power plant and what that fire looked like in case you missed it 2 nights ago. Here's the video. And as I say, that when I saw the black smoke and saw the report from Ukraine, the claims that tires had been set on fire in whatever fashion, whoever did it, I don't know. There was, flames down there at the base of the tower, but the IAEA is saying that the fire did not start there. What those flames are exactly from, I'm not sure. We still don't have clear information about that. But the black smoke, that has to be caused, smoke like that has to be caused from some sort of a, petroleum-based fire, generally speaking, whether it's, synthetic fabrics or wiring and insulation, plastics, tires would make smoke like that. If you've ever seen a lot of tires burn, or even just, you ever see one tire burn? Do you know how much black smoke one tire on fire makes? It's insane. So even a small tire of fire, a small pile of tires on fire could make smoke billow like that. And it's always black and sooty and gross and extremely toxic. The tires themselves are without any question, an environmental hazard. Certainly not as serious as radiation spewing from a nuclear plant, but that was a big story 2 days ago, still a big story now, and we need to be very careful. This is a reminder for me that we need to be vigilant about picking out these lies, because that kind of rhetoric on that day, it was very clear to me that it was designed to influence public opinion in such a way that it would justify, a huge escalation in response from Russia if they could get that information into the information stream in a way that seemed factual and would be accepted by a large portion of the population. If that were the case, if people believed that Ukraine had actually engaged in an attack on a nuclear facility, it really alters the public perception, doesn't it? And then I'm just saying that people wouldn't have much reservation about supporting a Russian response to that in a very escalated way, and yet it was clearly a lie. That's the truth. Now, I know a lot of people and I'm not even looking in the chat right now, that might not sit well with some people who are, very much against, don't care what happens to Ukraine in our chat. I'm just telling you the way it is, man. So take it or leave it. Do with it what you will. If it blows up your reality, not my problem. The facts don't care about your feelings. And this is the other thing that's blowing up people's reality as well, is the fact that Ukraine is making these, substantial gains in gaining ground into the Kursk region. Again, like, I'm sorry, it's just factual. It's happening. It's not a lie. Some people don't want to believe it, I guess, because we've been hearing all this. It's all over. Ukraine's done. What a waste of money. Blah, 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 blah. Well, whatever. I've been saying it's not over. Been saying for a long time it's not over. Here's Putin getting upset with at a news conference. He's at this briefing with the Kursk governor, Alexei Smirnov. He asks Smirnov for a report from the Kursk region, and Smirnov proceeds to talk about the size and the depth of the Ukrainian incursion into Russian territory, and Putin not happy about it. He's like, basically tells the guy to shut up and stick to other information, not reveal the talk about the success of the Ukrainian incursion. Here it is here. Let me read it for you. It says, situation in the region is complicated. It says today 28 settlements are under enemy control. This is actually from, I believe, yesterday. Now it's up to, what's the number 74 is the information that we were given today. Depth of penetration in Kursk Oblast is 12 kilometers. This is like strategic information. He shouldn't really be talking about this. Front line width is 40 kilometers. And then Putin chimes in. He says, listen, the military department will report to you about depth and width.
Послушайте, Алексей Борисович, это военное ведомство вам доложит, какая там ширина и глубина.
Tell us about the socioeconomic situation at aid. Yeah, shut up, idiot. You don't talk about these things publicly, man. Oops. Don't. That guy's headed for a demotion, or maybe worse. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, not now. Do you want to give away some of your troop positions too while you're up there? Anyway, that's not wise, man. He spoke out of turn, out of school, and Putin not happy. And again, this is footage that now I will say that I think on the Ukrainian side they're trying to make the most of the gains they've made, not so much in terms of military strategy on the ground. And I don't think it's just about gaining ground. It's about PR. It truly is. Anyway, you slice it, it's a big component of this. I'm sure there is military strategy being employed here that is relevant and maybe valuable. What that is exactly, I don't know. You're hearing criticism come from even U.S. officials, some of them, particularly politicians, who are saying that it's a suicide mission. Ukraine shouldn't be doing this. It serves no strategic value, but I'm not so sure. The PR value from this alone is immeasurable, really, for Ukraine, because I'm seeing tonight a lot of reports and a lot of online streamers, podcasters saying that Russia is losing the battle. That's significant. That is a big turnaround. That's a flip, right? So it is a PR war. Ukraine's making the most of that. They're pumping out their own propaganda. Propaganda isn't always a lie. Sometimes it's just about making use of the truth and video, although it all has to be taken in context. I don't know exactly you know, how to view all of this. It's all just surface level face value looking at this footage here tonight. But this is footage reportedly, apparently, of Russian troops surrendering. And this is the kind of stuff the Ukrainians have been pumping out over the past week as this invasion into Russian territory has been unfolding. And, you know, I'm calling it incursion and invasion. The Ukrainians are calling it a liberation. That's the way they're characterized. And here's footage of, they say, Russian soldiers surrendering, being loaded into a truck to be taken away. I guess. Interesting, isn't it? More, I guess, prisoners. These are supposed to be Russian mercenaries, according to this. Of course, this is footage released by Ukraine. Take it for what it's worth. And these are, again, supposedly Russians surrendering. More footage of the same activity. And that's the kind of thing we have not really seen very much of since the beginning of this war over 2.5 years ago. So, or a special military operation, depending on how you view it and what you want to call it. It's an armed conflict. It looks a whole lot like a war to me because a whole lot of people have died, about 500,000 people on each side. Probably more, well, it's got to be more than that now. I bet you it's 600,000, 650,000 a side, probably. We know that at least 1 million people in total have been killed. What a tragedy for both sides. God help us all. Absolutely tragic. And yes, Sandy, I'm with you. We need peace. But we're only going to get there through truth. So I'm not going to sit here and spin up lies for you. And if I see lies, I'm going to do my best to expose them, call them out, share truth with you. Simple as that. Only the truth will actually set us free. And we need it now more than ever. You know, Dragon helped bring a little bit of truth the other night when he talked about the big protests at the Pride event in Montreal, where he met a young man who was talking about the political situation in Bangladesh, talking about the persecution of Hindus in Bangladesh by radical Islamists, people that have actually died from this. And we're seeing here, let me find you this. The reason I mention that is this is Israelis staging a protest in Tel Aviv against the Islamist attacks targeting the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. So while you have pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protesters marching through the streets in North America, Canada, the United States, over in Israel, where they're under attack by, tonight, even rockets from Hezbollah, you have people there concerned enough about people over in Bangladesh that they're protesting to, I guess, raise awareness about the persecution of Hindus in Bangladesh. Here's a picture of a banner from that protest in Tel Aviv. Religion. Hindus make up a pretty small portion of the population there. And what was it? I think it's like 5 to 7% or something like that, I think, of the population, if that. And so as a minority, subject to extreme pressure from the majority and the Islamists who obviously don't always get along. Tribes crashing, smashing together in conflict. Okay, enough of that. Well, see, I'll show you this, though, because this really kind of illustrates my point. We've been told that the whole thing is all over. The Russians are winning. Ukraine has absolutely no chance, and yet the narrative being challenged, rightly or wrongly, correctly or incorrectly, PR, whatever. Some people say, this is not right, lie. Well, I'm just telling you, this is what's being posted, and I'm seeing more and more of it out there. The caption on this post on X, Ukrainian military is rolling around Sudza, Russia, without any hindrance. Putin is losing the war in Ukraine, and now he is losing control of his own country. So you see, that is the information that's out there tonight. And there's lots of this being distributed online. And in the days ahead, we will find out, I think, how accurate those kinds of claims are. Right now, I'm reserving judgment. There's some truth to it, no doubt about it. You can see that that's what's going on, but how substantial is it? Is this a wise move strategically? Does this leave Ukrainian troops vulnerable? I would say so. We're seeing reports tonight, too, that Russia is pulling some troops back from the front lines in Ukraine, pulling them back into the Russian territories to defend those areas. So whatever is going on, whatever the strategy is, it's shifting troop movements. That much is for sure. How this is going to play out over the next number of days, I have no idea. I'm not really sure what the ultimate goal is here. Is it to get Russia to move troops here or there? You know, there's real chess being played here. Real chess. It's not just, I don't think this is just like a straight up incursion for no reason. There's some strategic methodology to this. Motivation. Okay, let's take a look here now at Joe Biden. Asked about this situation in Ukraine. Well, not Ukraine now. It's actually in Russia, isn't it? Because the Ukrainian troops are right in Russian territory. Yesterday, Putin said, was it yesterday? I'm losing track of my days, but Putin has said there will be no more peace talks now with Russia, or with Ukraine. Because what's the point? Because he said, if they're going to attack the nuclear power plants, and now that they're pushing into Russian territory, well, there's no sense in even talking to them. Well, that signals a pretty major escalation. Biden asked about this whole situation today. This was his response. Let's bring it up. Here we go. What's Biden saying? Here it is.
What do you have to say about what's happening in Russia and Ukraine? Have you spoken with anyone in the Ukrainian government?
I've spoken with my staff on a regular basis, probably every 4 or 5 hours for the last 6 or 8 days. And it's creating a real dilemma for Putin, and we've been in direct contact, constant contact with the Ukrainians. That's all I'm going to say about it while it's active.
So not really saying a whole lot. Is he even really aware? I don't know. He's lucid enough to at least respond to the question. Lucid enough to say, I'm not really going to comment on it. But the U.S. is obviously very keyed in on it, as we all should be. But I'll tell you, this says to me that, again, we were right over here at Maverick News, that this conflict is far from over. That is the truth. And what we've been hearing, especially over the last even year, well, from the beginning, it's all over. It's going to be done in 72 hours. It'll be all over in a month. No, don't you count on it. And we've had some guests on who have given us a clearer picture, I think, especially in the last months with some balance. And I appreciate that. It's extremely important to get that balance, get truth, right? And you're only going to get truth by listening to various sides, getting a proper perspective. Let's take a look here now at what was going on with Putin today. He met with the Palestinian president, Abbas. I'll show you. Pressing a little flesh. Two of them meeting. Here we go. Let me cue this. And you can see the battle lines, the alliances, the axis of resistance emerging. Palestinian President Abbas with TASS video. It's becoming clearer and clearer by the day where the lines are drawn. Let's take a little break. I shall return after this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are two iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Just looking in the chat. Hey, Johnny, my friend. I don't know exactly what you mean by the thing about the U.S. base in Bangladesh. The persecution of the Hindus in Bangladesh has nothing to do with that whatsoever. If that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about the political situation, I think that deserves I've seen the reports on that too, and I think it needs a broader view. Put it to you that way. Whatever. Hindu persecution in Bangladesh. It's not related to anything. It's just got nothing to do with that. U.S. base in Bangladesh. Hindu persecution. It's religious. It's about religion, man. Prejudice and bigotry. That's what that's about. It's really just that simple on that particular issue. Anyway, let's take a look here at other stuff going on. We got this whole thing from Trump yesterday, right? Huge audience, tell you that. So big that I don't even know how big it was. I don't think anybody really knows how big it was. Trump at one point saying, looked over and he said, "Hey, Elon, I know you said we had like 25 million, but you have like, I'm looking at it, that's a bigger number. How big is that? I bet you have 50 or 60, maybe even 70 million. We'll end up watching this." And then Musk, I think, came back and said, yeah, after people get to watch or listen to the whole broader thing, the repost on it be up over 100 million. And I think even Alex Jones has been reporting even bigger numbers than that. And I don't know if I'd put apply a lot of credibility to the numbers that Alex Jones is putting up, but maybe, because I think he said like a billion people. I don't know if that's accurate. In fact, you know what? Let's go take a look at the InfoWars website while we're on the subject, and let's see what he's saying. No question that was a huge audience, but I think, let me just take a look. I'm trying to find what I saw it earlier, and I'm pretty sure that Alex Jones said 1 billion people. 1 billion. I don't know about that. Better around the world, who the heck knows? Maybe. Who was behind the DDoS attack on X during the Trump-Musk interview? They're taking a survey. Like, I guess it's determined by popularity. Whatever the majority rules, that's the truth. Everybody has an opinion, I guess, but shouldn't it be based on facts? Yeah, the headline for this, I don't see it here. Full show. Largest deportation in history promised when elected. We did hear that. I'm just going to see if I can find another. How big was the audience during Elon Musk Trump interview on X? Team Trump makes unhinged crowd size claim about Elon Musk interview. See, this is where the information war heats up, right? Let's take a look at the Google result on this. And this is what I'm talking about. So right now, most current state of the information war surrounding Donald Trump is this. Here it is. Team Trump makes unhinged crowd size claim about Elon Musk interview. Scroll down. ABC. Trump rehashes familiar talking points on immigrants. Diario AS. I don't know. I've never heard of that media outlet before. USA Today. Trump rambles and slurs his way through Elon Musk interview. Yeah, I've seen, because I know Johnny doesn't like Trump, so he sent me some links today to videos of people trashing Trump, the Trump interview. That's fair, Johnny. That's okay. The slurring, I'm telling you, the slurring was that was an audio compression thing. Because on the Twitter Spaces platform, when they're running Spaces, they have some really good audio enhancement tools, and they are I think they're running in automated settings. Now I can tell because I do some audio production here, and I have a lot of tools at my disposal, that there was a lot of compression applied and a lot of noise suppression as well. That's what makes those Twitter Spaces sound so good. They have, almost a studio quality to them, even though people are just mic'd up through their phones and webcams and things. But they take a lot of that echo out of it. But in order to get that kind of sound, they're applying what they call audio compression. And it takes the highs and the lows of the audio levels and pushes them together. And if you have too much compression, a voice will start to sound a little bit strange. Sometimes digitized, other times the voice sounds almost unrecognizable. In fact, I could even demonstrate for it if you want me to, but I don't know, do you care that much? I'll just go to the chat. You tell me, you want me to demonstrate that? Yeah, Johnny says he doesn't like any of the politicians. I get you. I know, John. I know. I don't know who the good guys are, man. I agree with you there. I don't know really who to vote for. And I'm kind of glad I can't vote in the U.S. election, because I would feel guilty if I made the wrong choice and the world ended up in a worse place. Anyway, I'm just looking in the chat. Sure, preparing a rant, Rick. Okay. I'm not going to take the time to do the audio production to show you. Yeah, I'm just telling you. I can make, if you put too much compression on, you start to sound kind of, you can end up sounding like Donald Trump did last night. Or it sounds like he's slurring his words. The voice almost sounds different, but it's still his voice. When I apply compression to my voice, sometimes it'll sound like higher or sometimes lower. It sounds a little bit weird. So you have to be careful. You don't want to apply too much to it. I have a tool that cleans up, especially audio on something like this. But if you apply too much of it, it sounds really artificial. Changes the length of the audio and stuff too. So you have to be careful with it. That's why I'm pretty sure that's why Donald Trump sounded like he was missing a tooth at times, and his voice didn't even sound like his. Now, I think that'll fuel some conspiracies out there, some conspiracy theories among people who are saying it wasn't the real Donald. It was Donald Trump number 17. It was the 17th Donald Trump, and he had his mask on, and that's why it didn't sound the same, because it wasn't him. It was him. It was the real Donald Trump. Just telling you. If anybody, again, anybody wants to talk about Trump, like, there's the number, 1-519-401-1373. I will take a call or two tonight if anybody cares. What else can I tell you about that? So yeah, the UAW, the United Auto Workers Union, they're losing their minds. So much so that I guess they're looking at suing Trump and Elon Musk. So this is, to some people, I think, a surprising move. It kind of surprises me, but at the same time, now that I'm hearing about it, I'm like, well, yeah, what do you expect from the UAW? They are not a big fan of Trump. Trump has actually criticized the president of the UAW, and the union has filed charges with the National Labor Relations Board against Trump and Elon Musk following the interview on X. The charges allege that Trump and Musk have attempted to intimidate and threaten workers. I didn't get that last night, but I guess you can try to make that argument. The filing follows a recent social media exchange between Musk and Trump, where they discussed the possibility of workers going on strike. In a conversation on X last night, Trump remarked, he said, "You're the greatest cutter. I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't name the company," Trump said, "but they go on strike and you say, that's okay. You're all gone." Well, if anybody knows anything about firing people, it would be Trump, right? You're fired. Well, now he's complimenting Musk on firing people too. Two peas in a pod, according to the UAW. Under federal law, it's illegal to fire workers for participating in a strike. And making threats to do so violates the National Labor Relations Act, according to the UAW. So, more lawfare. So, Sean Fain, the president of the union, criticized both Musk and Trump, saying, "Both Trump and Musk want working class people to sit down and shut up, and they laugh about it openly." He says it's disgusting, illegal, and totally predictable from these two clowns. That's a direct quote. By the way, that's what he said. So the National Labor Relations Board, while limited in its powers, can order employers to cease unlawful practices and post notices about workers' rights. The UAW has lodged separate complaints against Trump and Musk, accusing them of threatening to fire employees engaged in protected activities like striking. Neither the Harris nor the Trump campaigns have responded to many media requests for comment on this, and so far, no comment from Elon Musk either. So this move, of course, comes after the UAW led a 6-week strike last fall against the big three automakers, securing record contracts with significant wage increases. I can't recall exactly what they were, but they're around 30-40% over the life of these contracts. Massive. I don't ever recall contracts being settled with wage increases like that before. I can't think of ever covering labor stories like that, strike stories, contract talks with those kinds of settlements. That is a reflection of the current economy. We're in an era of heavy inflation. That's why the unions went after those massive wage hikes, because in order to keep their workers gainfully employed without losing ground financially, they needed those kinds of increases to battle inflation. Musk and Trump spoke about that last night during the conversation, as Musk calls it, on Twitter, X, saying that, and he's quite right, he says inflation is like a tax on the poor, because the government is really just printing money so that it doesn't really have to pay back the debt. But when they do that, it decreases the value of currency. So anybody middle class or lower middle class people who have saved over time, they're the ones who are penalized, because the value of the money they've saved, money in the bank, it's eroded. You end up losing, like we've seen over the last few years here. We've lost like 30, 40, some cases maybe 50% of the value of our money over the past 4 years. That's huge. Huge! Huge, just like the interview on X between Musk and Trump. CNN, obviously in the bag for the Dems and the Kamala Harris campaign. This is the way they were talking about the Trump conversation with Musk on X.
Began with 40 minutes of silence and then a bropocalypse of politics. No matter how you frame it or what caused the glitch, what was finally said between Donald Trump and Elon Musk at last night's Big X event can largely be defined as a rant filled with familiar lies and lines of attack.
Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not smart. She's not a smart person. She is a radical left San Francisco liberal, and now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible. But she wants to be more Trump than Trump. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride.
All right, but did it do what it was designed to do, which was to put the brakes on Harris's momentum? Or again, with 40.
I think he did a pretty good job, actually, even though they had all these technical problems, possibly because of a hack, a DDoS attack. Who knows what the truth is? I don't know. But even with all those problems where people couldn't get on, like we were here trying to get on that live X's space, X spaces, SX space, they call it, right? Even with that, still a massive audience, a record audience. I think Kamala Harris is jealous. It's my understanding that Musk offered to do it with Harris. She has declined. She declined when invited, but I know that Musk posted again online and invited Harris again. So I think it's an open invitation. She could benefit from the exposure as well. She can come over and appear on X with Elon Musk, but I don't think she will. She probably should. Look at the audience. And I think she would get a big audience too, just because people would want to see that exchange between Musk and her. Trump in fine form, so Trumpian, just calling people stupid, but he does it in such a way that it makes me chuckle. It doesn't seem like it's the caustic insult that it is at times. And he's quite right. Kamala Harris does want to be more Trump than Trump. That's why we've seen this week her steal one of the most unique planks from his platform, no tax on tips. She came out and used that about 3 days ago. Or was it 4? But there it is. That was his idea. He said it first, and now she's copying him. But the mainstream media, like CNN, running cover, saying, oh no, she's mirroring what Trump is doing. Not copying, it's mirroring. No, that's outright theft of idea. Okay? It was like, oh crap, that was a really good one. We got to do that too. We're supposed to be reaching out and bringing those working class people into under our tent. He's stealing our thunder. We're going to have to go steal that idea from him. So that's what she did. Just blatant. It's just blatant. But if you're on the other side over there with Kamala Harris and Mr. Walls, you're probably not paying that much attention to Donald Trump to understand that he came out with it first. But he did. He absolutely did. NBC tonight has this story that they're saying is an exclusive about Trump's plan to quell protests and deport pro-Hamas radicals. And as I say, daily now it is becoming clearer and clearer and clearer where the battle lines are being drawn. And it was vividly clear last night where Trump stands on foreign policy. And this is a reflection of that. This story making it even clearer. What's this about? Says here, since the October 7th Hamas terrorist attack in Israel, Donald Trump and other senior GOP leaders have repeatedly called for the Biden administration to revoke the visas of foreign nationals in the U.S. who openly support Hamas or other U.S.-designated terrorist organizations. What have I been saying here? For quite a while now, we are under attack. Make no mistake. I also said that, not all of these protesters are what they appear to be. They're not all just students. This isn't just happening organically. You have a lot of the usual suspects, as it were, participating in these protests. It's not just about Gaza. These people protesting, they're from the far left. It's the Antifa crowd. It's the Occupy crowd. It's the BLM, Black Lives Matter crowd. It's the far left collectivists, the communists, the socialists, the far left radical socialists, wrapping around to combine forces with the fascists, who call themselves the anti-fascists. No, they're the fascists. They're the ones out there. We've seen them with their black umbrellas assaulting people, burning things, these people in some cases, looting, smashing, vandalizing, and now masked up, hidden behind their keffiyehs and their masks that were normalized during the pandemic, still wearing them out in public. And I have to wonder, is it because they're really afraid of the virus? Or is there another reason? We've had laws in the past that make it illegal to protest or commit any kind of an offense. Committing an offense while wearing a mask is an additional offense. In many jurisdictions, a lot of that went out the window with the pandemic, but in some jurisdictions, they're trying to bring those laws back and enforcement to go along with it, because masked up protesters, vandals, are a problem. It's hard to hold someone accountable when you can't identify them. Last month, it says here, one of the 20 promises in the preamble of the platform adopted at the Republican National Convention was to, quote, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. But protest organizers contend that Trump and other Republicans are ignoring key facts. The overwhelming majority of demonstrators, it says here, are U.S. citizens who, under the First Amendment, are current U.S. law, have the right to express pro-Hamas, anti-Semitic, or anti-Israel views as long as they don't break the law. Yeah, as long as they don't break the law. Spray painting graffiti, that's breaking the law. Smashing windows, overturning cars, burning things, smashing things, looting things at protests, those would be considered crimes. It says here, and Muslim American civil rights organizations say the vast majority of pro-Palestinian protests have been peaceful and showed no public displays of support for Hamas. Oh, it's all peaceful. Yeah, no problem here, as they spray paint the replica of the Liberty Bell, the Freedom Bell. Deface monuments. Smash windows. We've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. It says here the protests, which spread across American college campuses and took over streets in some cities this spring, are expected to flare up again at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago next week. Isn't it interesting how the left always eats its own? That's all they know how to do anyways. Protest, protest, protest. So they go and protest their own people, their own politicians, their own side. They'll protest over there, but the people in charge over there, the politicians over there, they know who these people are. They're with them. That's the truth. Heads blowing up everywhere as I say these things. You can't handle the truth if your head is blowing up. Biden administration immigration officials told NBC News that as of July, they had not terminated any student or F-1 visas based on protest activity related to the Israel-Gaza war. Why am I not surprised? Civil liberties groups say attempts to deport protesters who are visa holders for speech-related offenses would spark legal battles nationwide. Of course it would, because the civil liberties groups largely are corrupted too by ideology that aligns them with these people who are engaged in some of these acts. Nothing wrong with protesting, to be sure, but doing stuff like this, and it's right here, here's a picture, doing stuff like that, and a war memorial, or other kinds of monuments, yeah, that's not really cool. However, it's done. Reed Rubenstein, a former Trump administration official who is senior vice president at a American First Legal, a public policy law firm founded by former Trump advisor Stephen Miller, said foreigners on visas or seeking them aren't allowed to endorse terrorist groups. He says, quote, wearing your little Hamas band saying, yeah, I support Hamas, If you are an alien, that should get you tossed out of the country, said Rubenstein, who held leading positions at the Justice and Education Departments under Trump. He goes on, says, quote, standing there waving your Hamas flag saying, I love Hamas, if you're a U.S. citizen, it's fine. Yeah, that's true. You can get away with it. You can do that. But I have to wonder, though. I understand the people who are upset about people dying in the war, but I have to question those who are in the streets, on college campuses, parading around with people who are shouting death to America, or death to Canada, death to Israel, or saying Israel doesn't have a right to exist, while on the next hand talking out of the other side of the mouth about a two-state solution. If Israel doesn't have a right to exist, where are the Jewish people supposed to go? I guess they'll be scattered around the world as they were before, living life like a traveling band of homeless people. Complicated issue, but maybe not so complicated. I'll be right back.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV,
the entire world is watching.
On social media. But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. One 519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, I'm back. And speaking of the audio situation with Donald Trump's voice, there were some video clips released showing Trump speaking at, I think it was in Mar-a-Lago. Anyway, hang on a second here. Let me run this other promo. We've got a call come in. I'll screen the call, and then we will come back and take our first caller of the night. And I'm going to run you the clip of Trump speaking directly into the phone without it's just recorded audio raw, as far as I know, not enhanced at all. And I think you'll see that his voice was very much normal.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Okay, just hang on a second here. I'm going to bring our caller up. But first, listen to this clip of Trump, and then you can decide for yourself. This is not audio through the X Spaces audio system. This is audio recorded. I think this is at Mar-a-Lago.
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. Both sides. Yeah. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. Both sides. Yeah. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
So I don't know. What do you guys think? Does he sound weird to you there? He sounds like he always sounds to me there. I'll just check the chat, but Isabel is on the line with us now. Hello, Isabel. How are you? Oh, hang on. Hang on. Let me get to your audio way up. There we go. Now they should be able to hear you. Go ahead.
I'm fine. Last night was exhilarating, refreshing.
Yeah.
Boy, he hit it with a punch. He's got them today. They don't know which end is up.
Yeah, that's for sure. They some of these people on the other side, they're kind of losing their minds, aren't they?
Oh, that's one way of putting it. Yeah. They're trying everything to put him out there as a liar. He never said that he didn't like gas cars. What he wants is the option: give them electric or give them gas.
Give people freedom, the freedom to choose.
Yeah. And they're saying, oh, here he's saying now he wants electric cars. Oh my God. Like, they just nitpick the words that they want, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, how stupid do they think we are? I'm hoping he gets in. I've always liked him. There's a few things that he says or that he does, but he speaks his mind.
What did you think of the whole conversation surrounding electric vehicles between Trump and Elon Musk, and Elon's comments about the threat to the earth, the environmental threat from fossil fuels being overblown by environmentalists and climate change activists?
I might have missed that part, but I would have thought that I know Elon is smart enough that with bringing in the electric cars, he's going to have a way to be able to recycle or dispose of these. I'm sure of it. I mean, the guy is smart. He knows what he's doing.
Well, he was talking of last night about, he doesn't think that the fossil fuel industry should be demonized because it's keeping humanity alive. It keeps civilization viable, right? The way that it is. So he sees the importance of it. And he says that, he said last night that continuing to use fossil fuels doesn't mean that the earth is going to come to an end, that it's going to be a cataclysmic, disaster environmentally for the world. Like the world's not going to come to an end in the next 5 years just because we continue to use fossil fuels. So he says we need a reasonable, measured approach to the whole thing that has to take place over a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. And that I thoroughly believe with him. I mean, they've thrown everything at us every 10 years, right? We're old enough to, like, I'm 72, so I'm old enough to remember there was this scare and there was that scare, and oh my God, this is going to happen. Never happened.
Yeah, well, there was the hole in the ozone layer that was going to leave us all vulnerable to the sun. And I remember, as a kid, people talking about, I get sunburned a whole lot easier now than I did even just a few years ago, and it's because of the ozone layer thinning. And yeah, I mean, all that. Acid rain, that was another one that we don't hear about that so much anymore.
No, because that wore off, right? So they had to come up with something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what I keep telling my kids. I'm like I have red hair, I have fair skin. I think I've been burnt really bad once in my life, my stupidity. Fall asleep in the sun, thought I could be like everybody else. And I got one heck of a sunburn. That was the last time I got that bad a sunburn. But I don't wear sunscreen because I don't believe in it. I don't know what's in that shit.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't want it on my skin.
Diethylene trichloride cyanide uranium.
I mean, how many people, when we were growing, especially me, when I was growing up, the things we put in our mouth on the ground.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
well, like we all drank out of the hose, right? And we got all the chemicals from the vinyl and rubber hoses, and we just ingested that stuff. Num, num, num.
And I mean, we were stupid enough. We used to, in Ottawa, we had the fog trucks come around.
Yeah.
For mosquitoes.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And like idiots, we would run behind the truck.
I shouldn't laugh. That's terrible. Oh, that's terrible.
I mean, and I used to watch my friends here where they put the tar on the road.
Yeah.
They would pick up the tar, they would play with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, we didn't have the allergies. Every kid today has a freaking allergy.
Yeah, it's true.
And
yeah.
If somebody says to me, do you have an allergy? Yeah, against stupid people.
Yeah. Well, there is something. There's some. There is actual benefit to going out and rolling around in the dirt.
There is.
Yeah.
I mean, now we've got our kids so sanitized. Yeah. You got sunscreen, you got fluoride, you got to wear this or you got to put that on. I'm like, oh my God, when do the kids get to live? And during the pandemic, let's put the sunscreen on, put masks on, wear gloves.
Well,
I'm like, holy shit, it's like freaking Halloween every day.
Well, obviously, I mean, toxic chemicals are not good for you, but getting out and gardening and eating a little dirt through the course of things, that is actually kind of good for you, and being exposed to some germs that builds up your immune system. But now we're seeing actual medical reports coming out saying that kids are immunocompromised because of the pandemic, where they were masked up so long that their immune systems didn't develop properly. So that just proves what we've known for generations.
Yeah. I mean, even when you were a kid and in the winter, I lived up in Timmins, so it was like minus 45. So you had a little peephole. I kind of looked like some of the people that wander around. All you could see was the eyes. Because you had to scarf your forehead, it would freeze. You had to scarf your mouth because it would freeze. But it was like that. Then it would get wet. Now you're breathing through a wet scarf.
Yeah.
And those masks did the same thing to people. You're breathing your own carbon monoxide.
Carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monoxide is the stuff that comes out of the tailpipe of a car, and that might just not be the wisest thing to suck in, because that'll kill you.
But I mean, you're breathing out and you're breathing it back in.
Yeah. Yep.
So people were wondering why they were getting coughs. Well, you're also breathing in the fiber from the stupid mask.
Well, plus you get bacteria build up, and then it breeds, it multiplies there, Bacteria, viruses, it catches crap in there. It's moisture. So, you get bacterial infections, and you're breathing that into your lungs after a while. And people never use the masks properly because they They would wear them, throw them around, stuff them in their pocket, put them back on. They're just contaminated, and then you're just sucking in all the crap. And that's not
hang it
healthy.
in your car window.
Yeah, it's just.
I'll get that one the next time. So how long has it been there? Well, I don't know. I haven't been out for a couple of days, but it should be good. I'm like, oh my God.
Do you see people wearing masks very much where you live these days?
No, and we really didn't have. A lot of us here were like, yeah, well, no. And if they would say anything like, I have COPD, so I'm like, no, I can't wear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you mean you can't wear it? I said, well, I'm good breathing on my own. And if I get it, I get it. I mean, well, what do you want me to do? Oh, no, but you could spread it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, geez, I could spread almost anything. That mask isn't going to stop everything.
Yeah.
Like this, it put everybody in that panic stage. But there was a lot of us here who did not, because we just didn't give a shit.
Isabel, do you know what I read yesterday? An article about Anthony Fauci. And do you know what he said about masks? He said that people who are vulnerable or, immunocompromised or whatever, just the elderly, the article said that he's still encouraging people to wear masks, even today.
Do you know in California, they brought the masks back?
In California?
Yeah.
Really? Like just widely or in certain places or?
From what I heard, California they do want to bring back the masks, and in some places they are enforcing them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on, man.
California.
Well, Gavin Newsom.
Well, you know that song.
Newsom, as they call him.
California, here I come. I ain't going there. No way. I ain't. No, not now. No more.
Not ever. I live for my dog's kisses, and people are like, ooh. Well, I'm like, wow.
Do you know what my dog does?
Mm-hmm.
Cosmo. When I'm not looking, he goes in the bedroom and he licks my pillow.
Uh-huh.
And then I go in there to go to bed and I put my head on my pillow and it's just soaked. And I'm like, oh, this is gross. I have to go get a different pillow. It's like, oh my God. But how do you scold him?
He loves you.
I know.
I have a little red pillow that my husband got when he was alive. He had 5 heart attacks. So they gave him this little red pillow from the Heart Association. Well, my younger one, she's only 5.5 pounds. She's 13. But she constantly licks that pillow and I forget to check it. So I have it on the couch and I go to sit down and I go, oh, shit. Now I got to go change my pants. He licks my pillow.
Yeah.
And they lick it till it's sopping wet. I don't know what it is with the licking of certain items like that. They told me it was because she was taken away from her mom too quick. I said, no. She was 8.5 weeks when we got her. And my Chihuahua is the father. I said, so no, it has nothing to do with her taken away from her mom too early. She just likes to lick blankets and pillows.
Yeah. Well.
So maybe she's not getting enough fiber. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I know with Cosmo, he just I'll go in there at night and when that happens, and then I look at him and he just looks at me like, what? It's just. But
I don't know what you're looking at me for. I didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything. Yeah, you did when I wasn't here. But anyway, but that helps build up my immune system. You see, although I'm told, I always heard that a dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's. But I've seen some of the crap that dogs eat, and I mean, I like literally crap. So I'm like, I don't believe it, not for a minute, man. No.
Well, you know what? My daughter had a Shar-Pei, and he had very, very thick claws, and she also had a border collie shepherd mix, and the Shar-Pei jumped up and ripped my arm open, and it was quite the gash. And her other dog, my brain told me, like my mother always said, let the dog lick it. It'll cause it to stop bleeding. The other one came and licked it and licked it and licked it till it stopped bleeding. I have a very little scar and it did need stitches and I didn't get the stitches.
Well, antibodies, I guess. I don't know.
Well, they tell you their saliva is like a coagulant. It stops the bleeding, kind of seals it.
with my luck, I'd have a dog lick my wound and it would get infected and my whole arm would fall off or something. What happened to your arm? My dog licked my wound. Got toxified, and next thing you know, I'm armless.
I used to have a whole arm. I only got a half. Okay.
That reminds me of that Monty Python sketch. You know, we're a bunch of knights here, right? There's the sketch where the knight gets his arms cut off and then his legs, and he's like, "Come on, I'll bite you to death." It's like,
no arms.
It's like, what do you don't even have any arms or legs? I don't care. I'm not giving up.
Yeah, Monty Python. Monty Python was we used to watch the Carry On Gang at home, and my kids would watch it. To me, that was just hilarity. I'm Scottish, so it was hilarity. It's normal. And we took our kids to the drive-in to see Carry On Doctor.
Yeah.
And we weren't allowed to go in, and my kids were 10 and 12, and they wouldn't let us go in.
Yeah.
They said it was R-rated. I'm like,
well,
have you ever watched a Carry On movie?
Yeah.
There's no R-rated in it.
I know, but back then that was considered risque. I remember that stuff. And by today's standards, you know, the kids in kindergarten are getting more of an eyeful at the drag queen story times than they ever did from a Carry On movie. But when we were kids, you're right, that stuff was like taboo.
Yeah. I mean, it was like that or Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yeah.
It's like, and now you look at it and you go, oh my God, I need blinders with what they're putting on now.
Well, Isabel, I think maybe, just maybe, we would be better off if we kind of got back to those days and those standards and that kind of community, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Life was a whole lot easier and a whole lot more fun. But I will say I really enjoyed that last night. He brought out the power, and it just showed you how many people like him from all over the world that were trying to get on that podcast last night to watch that.
Yeah, true enough.
You know, I mean, it was like, there's how many people? Wait a minute, I got to get on there, and I couldn't get on there, and then you couldn't get on there, and then when you did, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to sit glued to this. I got to listen to this. And I'm like, what? And then today, the other side is like blown. They don't know what to say or what to do.
They're afraid. That's what it is. They're afraid.
They are afraid, and they're making up all kinds of excuses. They're saying that the 45-minute delay, it was just like all BS because that's just how Elon is. And I'm like, no, we all waited. We were waiting. You can make up your lies. You've been doing it for 3 years. Keep going. Just watching and listening to little snippets on Facebook from CNN, or not Facebook, on Fox News, that CNN, they would post what CNN said, and then they would post what
MSNBC.
That's the one. They're all liars anyway. What they were saying, and he's like, oh my God. He said, here we go. They can't stand it. He said, they're losing their mind. I thought,
oh, there was this show with Stephen Colbert, and he had a CNN host on. And I'm not going to run the clip because we'll get a copyright strike, I think. Anything with Colbert gets us that. But he said to the CNN host, he said, over there at CNN, you guys, you're really unbiased and you just report the news the way it is. And then the crowd started to laugh. And she looked at Colbert like she had been, sabotaged or something, right? And she said, is that supposed to be like a joke? And he said, well, no, but I guess it is. Because I think the truth is that they don't tell the truth. And that's why the people were laughing when he said that.
Yeah. I mean, it just gave me more hope that he gets in.
Yeah.
Because if he gets in, maybe we can get the Joker out of ours.
Well, there seems to be a political shift happening, and you can see that with Trump, and you can see it here in Canada as well, right?
Yeah.
Whether that plays out in terms of change at the ballot box, I don't know, because the people on the Trudeau, Biden, far left side, they don't give up either.
No, they don't give up. And what amazes me with all that's going on in Montreal and the protests you see in Montreal and you see in Toronto, where's all the people that were bitching and complaining about the freedom fighters making so much noise?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where is that? What was her name? That Oriental girl that was, oh, it's so noisy. I couldn't sleep. I was so afraid to walk down the street. I'm like, oh my God. Really?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I lived in Ottawa for 22 years, and it is the coldest, isolating city I've ever been in. And unless you're in the parliament or you're in a high-paying job, you're nothing but dirt.
Yeah, I understand.
I love the small town. I walk downtown. Downtown, we have like 3 blocks. But you can walk out there and say good morning, and it doesn't matter if you know the people or not, you're going to get a good morning back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I left London. I couldn't take it anymore in London. There were too many immigrants coming in. I was going to be the minority, and the dirty looks I got, and the comments that were made about my dogs, that just blew me. You can comment about me, but don't talk about my dogs. I'm like, I'm done. I kind of wish they would have been Dobermans, but no.
Well, Isabel, thank you for calling in tonight. I'll throw it over to you for a final thought.
A final thought. I want to give everybody hope. I mean, I'm not strong religious. I'm going back to my religion, and I just wish everybody peace and hope. We got to get out of this, and if we all stick together. Come on, guys. I just see 227 people looking, and there's only 35 thumbs up.
Yeah, and there's Sandy, and I'm holding up Sandy's drawing that she sent here, her peace drawing that she sent to me today in the mail. Thank you, Sandy.
That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy, again for sending that in.
That was awesome.
Yeah, she's always a ray of sunshine when she calls.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yes, she is. Well, I will sign off, but you guys have a great night. Come on, thumbs up. Let's go for Rick.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that,
Thank
Isabel.
you.
Talk to you later. See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great call. And that gets, there's all kinds of other stuff going on today. Let's take a little break. I'm going to come back. We're going to show you what's going on with those Alberta wildfires, where, of course, Jasper, 1/3 of that town consumed by flames, destroyed. And we have an update for you coming up right after this.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I've lost the feed for that Alberta wildfire update, but I'll get you the information that hang on here. I had it queued, I had it ready to go, and I've lost the feed. I really apologize for that, folks. Let me see if I can get to the latest information here another way. I should be able to get it this way. Hang on. I know how to get it. Here we go. I can pull it in over here. Here we go. I've got it. Gotcha. I'm pulling it in for you now. Here we go. Alberta wildfire update. And let's go.
15 wildfires burning in the forest protection area of Alberta. Of those, 11 are out of control, 44 are being held, and 59 are under control. A cold front moving through the province brought higher wildfire danger yesterday. We were watching carefully for a potential increase in wildfire activity, particularly in the northwest of the province. However, despite some expected growth on the CMO complex, established fire guards were not challenged, and crews, heavy equipment, and aircraft were able to continue containing the wildfires. A warning remains in effect for that area where we're still seeing some high to extreme wildfire danger. But we are expecting scattered showers and thunderstorms in most of the province today and tomorrow. Conditions are returning to what we would expect seasonally after an unusual amount of wildfire activity in July. In fact, our records show that the area burned in July was more than double the highest recorded since 1980. We're grateful to the more than 800 firefighters and support staff from other agencies that are helping Alberta's firefighters this week. They include representatives from Yukon, Ontario, Quebec, Northwest Territories, New Brunswick, Canadian Armed Forces, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, South Africa, and Costa Rica. Having this assistance from our national and international colleagues gives our crews a chance to rest and come back at work refreshed. As we anticipate a slow return to seasonal conditions, many of our visiting firefighters will be returning home, and our own crews will continue to do the work that's needed to help extinguish the wildfires burning across the province. Thank you.
Okay, that ought to do it for that, for tonight. Now, I also wanted to kind of draw your attention to this too. This was this was Justin Trudeau at an electric vehicle plant with Ontario Premier Doug Ford talking about government investment, in other words, giving money to big automotive companies and parts suppliers to electrify the auto industry, billions and billions of dollars. And somebody just mentioned Pierre Poilievre and the question part of the media news conference. And look at the reaction you get from Justin Trudeau. He just about loses his freaking mind. I think if Trudeau is feeling the heat, I really do. I think that he realizes he's in a heap of trouble because he's not that popular right now.
Last week, steel and aluminum CEOs and opposition leader Pierre Poilievre called for the federal government to match the U.S.'s tariffs on China. Why has Canada not moved on this yet?
Well, first of all, it's a bit of a joke that Poilievre is suddenly talking about workers in the auto industry. He has said repeatedly that he wouldn't be making these investments in our auto industry. He wouldn't have invested. He'd be cutting our investments in EVs, in building an extraordinary EV supply chain in Canada, something that we've been doing as a government in partnership with the government of Ontario and others right across the country over the past 4 years in a deliberate strategy. Bring in Volkswagen, bring in Stellantis, invest in Honda, invest in the EV supply chain from mines to manufacturing and recycling. We have been there every step of the way, and the federal Conservatives continue to say they'd cut it all. They don't support it. They don't believe in investing in Canadian workers. So him to suddenly turn around and say, oh, we're worried about EVs, that's baloney.
You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about the investment, which is the government spending our money, giving it to big companies to embark on this very, very, very risky journey of building these factories at levels that may not end up being competitive with other factories around the world, especially from China. And if it doesn't work, I'm very, very worried about the bill that's going to come due with no productivity to back up the debt that we are incurring as a result of Justin Trudeau's investment in the electric vehicle venture. Speaking of the economy, tomorrow night, Bitcoin Ben returns to Maverick News for his encore performance. Round 2 with Bitcoin Ben. We were getting into some pretty interesting territory in the last conversation when he was on about a week ago, talking about the future of the economy, digital currencies, the ethics, the social impact surrounding all of that. We were getting into some pretty interesting stuff. And tomorrow, Bitcoin Ben returns to the broadcast, so you're not going to want to miss that. You know, and speaking of the future, to know where you're going, it's pretty important to understand where you've been. So it might be worth taking a look back at what happened back in 1961. East Germany closed the border between the eastern and western sectors of Berlin to prevent citizens from escaping. The Berlin Wall was being erected, had been erected, and the government closed the border between the eastern and western sectors of Berlin. And it stayed that way for over 3 decades, stopped millions. Well, people tried to get through before it was closed off, and I've got video of that happening to share with you here tonight. A reminder of why freedom is so important to defend. A reminder of how people fought for it, struggled for it, yearned for it, and tried to escape tyranny, tried to escape communism. This is 1961. Berlin. German people trying to escape the Berlin Wall before it was finishing. And you know, I do my best to try to stay neutral about these things, but I am old enough to remember Reagan standing in front of the wall saying, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." I remember the fall of the Soviet Union. I remember the Soviet bloc countries being freed. And I remember what happened with Ukraine and how it was freed at that time as well. And how everything changed and how Ukraine gained its sovereignty and had the right to self-determination. So I do understand both sides of the conflict. I understand the NATO pushing up closer to Russia and the threat that can be perceived as, but I also understand the yearning for freedom. I understand why Ukrainians are fighting. And I also understand propaganda, and I understand the cliches and that even I have at times perpetuated, repeated right here on this program. Perhaps not being careful enough in the way that I shared my language. Not careful enough because today it is becoming increasingly clear that the political descriptions, the ideologies of the past are maybe not entirely applicable today because we've seen so much change in recent years. We're seeing distortions in political ideologies, morphing of belief systems, ideas. The old labels just don't quite apply anymore. Everything has changed just a bit. And yet, the more things change, the more the threat remains the same. The threat of authoritarianism, collectivism, the threat to freedom, real freedom. Not like communist revolutionary freedom fighter freedom. I'm talking about real freedom, freedom from government. The kind of freedom you get by liberating people from authoritarian governments. Not the kind of freedom that the authoritarians and the collectivists promise us by promising us stuff or equal outcomes for everyone through some economic system. I'm talking about freedom from government. The threat to that remains as real today as it ever was. In many respects, maybe more so. Time for people to wake up all the way. And that footage of the people trying to get through the Berlin Wall in 1961, risking life and limb. Doing so serves as a reminder of how we take freedom for granted, and when it is threatened, when it is being taken away from us, that's when we really, truly realize what it is that we have or had. Because when it's gone, you sure do miss it. And as Reagan said, this is the last place on earth. I have to make a stand here, folks. We'll continue to do that tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Maverick News Channel. We will continue to fight for freedom by doing our best, doing my best, to get everybody closer to the truth. See you then. Thank you, everybody. Catch you on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.